All right, if you're deep into game design studies, you know that getting your head around user interfaces is just non-negotiable. So today, we're going to break down the 4 main types of game interfaces into a super clear guide. I promise, by the end of this, you'll have a simple way to look at any game and totally nail those exam questions.
You know, everything really just boils down to this one question. How does a game actually talk to you? And I want you to think of an interface as more than just a menu or a health bar. It's the language the game uses to communicate, well, everything, from how much health you have left, to what you're supposed to be doing, to the story itself.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with the basics, what an interface even is. Then we'll dive into each of the 4 types, one by one. And you're going to want to stick around because at the end, we'll wrap it all up with a recap and some real strategy to help you with your exams.
Okay, so at its heart, a user interface, or UI, is basically the bridge that connects you, the player, to the world inside the game. It's how all the game systems tell you what's going on. Now, game designers have come up with 4 main ways to build this bridge, and we're about to walk through every single one.
Let's kick things off with what is, you could argue, the most immersive type, the diegetic interface. The big idea here, the thing to remember, is that the interface elements actually exist inside the game's world and its story. They're not just for you, they're a real part of the fiction.
So the textbook definition says it's projected in the game level and seen from the point of view of the character. So, what does that actually mean? Well, simply put, if the character you're playing can see it, or touch it, or interact with it in their world, then boom, it's diegetic.
And this image right here is the perfect example. Think about a game like Metroid Prime. The health bar, the minimap, your ammo count, it's all displayed on the inside of Samus's helmet visor. It's an interface, sure, but it exists as a physical object in that game's reality.
So, for your exam analysis, here's a little checklist. Does it exist in the game's 3D space? Yes. Is your character aware of it? Yes. Could another character in the game walk up and see it? Yes. A character pulling out a physical map or checking their watch for the time, perfect diegetic examples. All right, now let's flip that coin completely and look at the type you've definitely seen a million times, the non-diegetic interface. This is your classic, traditional heads-up display, the HUD we've had in video games for, well, decades. The definition couldn't be simpler. It's overlaid on the screen. This kind of interface has zero existence in the game world. It's like a layer of information that's just kind of painted on a piece of glass between you and the game. It is 100% for the player and only the player. This shot here shows that separation perfectly. The character, General Grievous, has absolutely no idea there's a score floating at the top of his vision or a list of players down the side. These things are totally separate from the game's reality. They only exist to give information to you. So, your exam checklist for non-diegetic is pretty much the total opposite of diegetic. Does it exist in the game world? Nope. Is the character aware of it? Not a chance. It's the most direct, no-fuss way to give you information. We're talking health bars, ammo counters, and points. Okay, now we get to the really clever stuff. Meta interfaces are this awesome, fascinating blend. They don't technically exist in the game world, but they're justified by the game's story. They kind of bend the rules of what the screen is. The definition says it overlays the world aesthetics. Now that word aesthetics is key. It just means the interface is designed to feel like a natural part of the player's experience, like an effect on your perception, even though it's still just a 2D overlay on your screen.
And the all-time classic example is blood spatter. When your character gets hurt and blood splashes across the screen? Now, obviously, your character doesn't literally have a camera lens strapped to their face, but that visual effect feels connected to the story. It represents the feeling of being injured in a really visceral way.
So for your analysis, just remember this. A meta interface is on the 2D screen and the character is not aware of it. But, and this is the part that matters, it has a story justification. It's not just a red bar going down, it's an effect that mimics a real-world feeling, like having blood in your eyes or rain on your face.
And last but not least, our 4th type, spatial interfaces. These are UI elements that get placed right inside the game's 3D environment, but they aren't actually part of the game's story or world. So the definition says they break out of the game aesthetics. All this means is that they're clearly graphical overlays, not trying to look like real objects. But they're rendered right there in the 3D space of the game. They aren't flat on your screen. They actually have a position and perspective inside the world.
A racing game like this is a perfect example. See those glowing blue arrows on the track?
They exist in the game's 3D space, right? You can drive right over them, but they aren't real objects in the story. The driver character isn't seeing them. They're just there for you, the player, to guide you. So the big takeaway here is that spatial interfaces exist in the game's 3D space, but the character has no idea they're there. Think of those selection circles around units in a strategy game, or a glowing line on the ground showing you which way to go. That's spatial UI.
All right, deep breath. We've made it through all 4 types. Now let's put all this knowledge together into a super useful tool that you can use to analyze any game and just crush those exam questions.
This table right here, this is your golden ticket. Seriously, when you're looking at any interface, just ask yourself 2 simple questions. First, does it exist in the game's 3D world? And second, is my character aware of it? The answers will point you to the right type every single time. A yes to both, that's diegetic, easy. A yes to being in the world but a no to the character knowing about it, that's spatial. If the answer to both is no, then you know it's a 2D overlay. From there, just ask if it's thematically justified, like blood spatter. If so, it's meta. If it's just a plain old health bar, it's non-diegetic.
Okay, let's talk about the common traps people fall into. The biggest one by far is mixing up diegetic and spatial. They both live in the 3D world, but the tiebreaker is always character awareness. If the character can see it, it's diegetic. If they can't, it's spatial. And also, don't forget that almost no game uses just one type. Most modern games are a hybrid, mixing and matching all 4.
So when it comes to your exams, the most important thing to remember is to go deeper than just naming the type. The A+ answers will analyze why the designer made that choice. Why did they use an immersive diegetic interface instead of an efficient non-diegetic one? What kind of feeling does a meta interface create for the player? That's where you show you really get it.
And just to leave you with a little food for thought, with technology like AR and VR becoming a bigger deal, how are these lines going to hold up? I mean, when the game world is literally layered on top of our real world, what even is diegetic anymore? It's a pretty wild question for the future of game design. Anyway, that's it for this breakdown. Good luck with your studies.